Hello and welcome to our fourth and final example of solving a system of equations with word problems specifically. Remember that we're using Desmos here, so it's making our lives a little bit easier. In our last problem here it says, if Anne spent $313, okay, first of all, I'm going to think about where I'm at in the situation. I don't even know what she bought yet. I just know that Anne spent $313. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a note of that. We'll just see what else ends up happening with Anne, and so we can make a list of all of the things that fall underneath her. I know that she spent a total of $313. Okay? So now I'm asking myself, where did that money come from? The question says that she bought 3 rose bushes and 4 apple trees. Okay, so the $313 came from the cost of each of those items and then multiplied by how many of them she bought. So I'm thinking about how her bill was calculated, how much she paid at the actual checkout. She bought 3 of these rose bushes, and so I'm going to add that into my list of Anne. And she also bought 4 apple trees. Okay, so now I kind of have an idea of what's going on in the word problem. So far we're talking about rose bushes, apple trees. I've got a number of each of those, and then I have the actual amount of money that was spent. The next part of this question, though, mentions Marcus. So this is a little bit different. It looks like this word problem, we're going to be comparing 2 people. We've got what Anne bought and then what Marcus bought. So let's make a list here. We know what Anne bought and we know how much she spent. We know that Marcus spent $193. So Anne's total was $313 and Marcus's total is $193. So that gives us kind of a place to start thinking about maybe what this question would be asking us. If I want to figure out where that 193 came from, I need to finish the rest of the sentence. Marcus bought 5 rose bushes, but he only bought 1 apple tree. So he spent quite a bit less than Anne did, and he bought more rose bushes than Anne did. Anne bought more apple trees than Marcus did. So that gives you kind of an idea of what the system looks like and the parts that make up the system. It's really nice to have this list here to be able to look at the things that compare Anne and Marcus, because they each bought the same things, they just bought different quantities of those things. And so the question that you're asked here is, how much does one of each of these items cost? So how much is 1 rose bush and how much is 1 apple tree? And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to write a system of equations where one equation is going to describe Anne and the other equation is going to describe Marcus. So I have to be asking myself what variables I want to use. I'm always going to use X and Y because that's what Desmos likes. So since it came first, I'm going to say that every time you see a rose bush or a number of rose bushes, that's going to be the letter X. And then Y is going to be for my apple trees. So Desmos likes the letters X and Y. Make sure that you're using X and Y. You don't have to start out that way, but when you type it into Desmos, it does need to be X and Y. And so now I can really be thinking in terms of, what does this system look like? What did each individual person pay? And how does that tell me what one of each item costs? So let's go ahead and look at this. I have Anne's bill first. So she spent, I've got to figure out how I'm going to show my work here. She spent $313. That money came from buying 3 rose bushes. So that's 3 times X, because every X is a rose bush. She bought 4 apple trees. So that's going to be 4 multiplied by Y, which is the variable I chose for apple trees. Then I know that after adding those 2 numbers together, she spent $313. We're not going to worry about tax right now, so don't worry about that. We're not dealing with that. Then let's compare Marcus. So Marcus bought rose bushes and apple trees as well, but he bought 5 rose bushes instead of 3, and he bought 1 apple tree instead of 4. So his equation is 5x plus 1y, or just y if you don't want to write the 1. And that's going to be equal to his total of $193. So you can see how the system shows you what each person spent, but we still don't know how much each individual item costs. We know how many were bought, but we don't know what each individual item costs by itself. So the system of equations is going to show us that intersection point where we know the individual price of 1 rose bush and 1 apple tree. And you have an ordered pair. You should have 2 numbers because we have 2 variables. We have a number of rose bushes and we have a number of apple trees. I chose for rose bushes to be the variable x. So in the ordered pair, there would be $27 per rose bush, because that's the question is asking you, not how many were purchased. You know how many were purchased. It's how much does each one cost. So each rose bush is $27 because that's the x coordinate of the solution. The y coordinate of the solution is 58, which means that each apple tree costs $58. And so this is how we take a system of equations and we turn it from a word problem into an actual answer in context, where you know exactly how much each individual item costs, and now you have a solution to that system of equations.